So we have a whole suite of emotions that really work to kind of give us information about how am I doing relative to the expectations of my social group? What is my social standing? Am I proud? I'm beating my chest. I've done something that is going to give me acclaim by my group. Or maybe I'm ashamed because I've done something that might be negatively viewed by my social group. And we see these, elements of these kind of self-conscious emotions, these shame displays in not just humans. Again, we can also see elements of these emotional displays in non-human animals.
That's right. And in fact, Darwin, the founder of evolution, wrote a whole book on the expression of emotion in man animals, the title of the book, where he identified many different expressions of emotion across a huge range of species. And some of those species he looked at were species that live in a social hierarchy. So, with some animals are the most dominant, some are the least dominant, and animals fall somewhere in between that. And it's incredibly important for these animals to be aware of the hierarchy, and sometimes it will change, and there will be tests to see whether one animal may climb the hierarchy or others fall down. Now, the ways, the hierarchy is based on the strength of the animals, but it's incredibly costly for the animals to have a real fight to determine who is the strongest or the fiercest, because in a real fight, there's real danger of injury or even death. So it's far better if the animals can establish who is likely to be the strongest animal without getting to having to fight every time. And so how they do this is they will engage in displays. So somewhat akin to the shame expression, you can think of a submission expression. So an animal, when it's fighting, will try to protect its neck area and its soft underbelly. Those are both vulnerable areas in a fight. They will try to protect those areas. But when it is signaling submission, it will often roll over and expose those areas to display to the more dominant animal, or the animal it believes to be more dominant, hey, look, I am exposing myself. I'm not even trying to fight here. This is the opposite of me trying to fight. I'm acknowledging that you, the other animal, are more dominant than me. It's signaling to this other animal without having to go through the dangerous and expensive activity of fighting. And not only is it signaling to the other animal, it's also seen and signaling to the other animals around so that they can be aware and notice the dominance hierarchy. So they know, okay, well, if this animal that is, more dominant than this other animal, if they are dominant, then that tells me where I fit in with respect to those animals too. So that's an incredibly important function, being able to express that to others.
But of course, displays of emotion, for it to serve its social signaling purpose, have to be interpreted. And it turns out that people differ in their ability to interpret other people's emotional displays. On the low end, often you see children who have autism spectrum disorders, which is a developmental disorder of childhood that can impair people's ability to read these kind of social nonverbal cues from people's faces. So often children or even adults with autism spectrum traits have to be explicitly taught the rules about when someone's face looks like this, it means that, and they can practice role-playing exercises to practice the social scripts of how you respond to emotion, but it's much more procedural learning than the kind of an intuitive, quick, I know what this person's face is saying. On the other end of the spectrum, what we often see in children who have been physically abused or even just been punished using harsh physical punishment like spanking are often much more attuned to even minor differences in facial expressions. And again, this is back to emotions are adaptive. So if you're a child and you have an angry or erratic or emotionally impulsive caretaker, part of how you survive in that situation is by being really good at scanning adults' faces and trying to be really attuned to what they're feeling. So whether it's through, nature, some, inherited disorder, or nurture, some sort of environmental experience, we can see a wide range in people's ability to attune to what other people are displaying on their face.